One of the most common questions that we get asked here at the Raven Foundation is, how can someone who is guilty be a scapegoat? It's a great question, and I'd like to explore that question with you by using the current situation of Congressman Joe Wilson. Joe Wilson is the congressman who had the outburst last week during Obama's speech, and he said, "You lie." Now this week, Democrats are going to vote on whether or not Joe Wilson should make a formal apology to Congress for his outburst. He's already apologized to President Obama, and Joe Wilson thinks that that's enough. We'll see what happens. Whether or not you are a Republican, a Democrat, or anywhere in between, I want to try to make an argument to you that Joe Wilson is being scapegoated. First, whenever I'm a youth pastor, and at the beginning of the year, I like to go over with my youth groups how to have respectful conversations with one another. We may disagree on things, we may have debates and argue about things, but how can we do this and still be respectful with one another? If I wanted to show an example of how to be disrespectful to one another, I think a good example would be President Obama's speech. Not for what President Obama said or didn't say, but for how people reacted, how politicians reacted to what Obama said. First, Democrats. Whenever Obama says something that the Democrats like, they stand up and cheer. It gets a bit excessive after a while. It's almost like, this is a hyperbole, but it's almost like after every sentence, they have to stand up and cheer. It's almost as if they're rubbing it in to the Republicans. We're in power, we're going to cheer and show approval for what our man has to say. And then Republicans get in this competition of having to show disapproval. So when Obama says something that they disagree with, they have to show disapproval. It often gets in the form of murmuring. This is what happened right before Joe Wilson had his outburst. Obama says there's nothing in this bill for illegal immigrants. And everybody goes, and then Joe Wilson says, "You lie." So there's this competition to show approval or disapproval depending on who's in power. This happens all the time, no matter who is the president, no matter which party has the presidency, this happens. It's not so much about what is right and what is wrong, it's about who is winning and who is losing. This is what these speeches often come down to. This is what these bills often come down to. I mean, it's like a sporting event. And to show this, people bring in signs. Politicians bring in signs. There was one sign that says, "What bill?" Totally mocking the president and this bill. And people are like, "Oh, Joe Wilson, he should show respect because this is the president." No, you should show respect to one another because you're human beings. It's not just the president who deserves respect. It's all of us that deserve respect. So how do you go about being respectful to one another? This is a complete change in culture. I don't think that it's just Joe Wilson who should apologize. I think it's all of you who should apologize. I mean, you're acting childish during these debates. I mean, I begin to wonder, where do our children learn to be disrespectful with one another? I hope that they're not watching these political debates. And let me get off my high horse. I do this too, all the time. I'm sure that you do this too all the time as well. I mean, we have to deal with this in all of our lives, this desire to win, this desire not for what is right, but to win and to show disrespect to the other people so that we can win, because that's what it's about. It's like a game. I think we all need to grow up. So those are my thoughts on how Joe Wilson is being scapegoated. The more attention that we throw at Joe Wilson, trying to get him to apologize, the less attention that we give to this whole political culture of showing disrespect to one another. How can you have these debates and show respect to one another? That's my question. How can we deal with this in our own lives. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. So let me know. Bye.